Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Julie Galarraga, and I'm part of the Elite Realty Dream Team. And we are so honored to have you here wanting to learn so you too can create financial wealth. So today we have a very important topic. And if you ask me, it's a very amazing way to create passive income and not using your credit. It's called leveraging other people's credit. And it definitely is a great way to create a portfolio of investments. So we're gonna go over the whole process of whether you wanting to sell a property or whether you want to buy a property. We will go step by step and also give real life scenarios. I'm a example type of person. I learn best that way. And the reason why we do these YouTube lives is to make sure whoever you identify yourself with, you're able to learn from them, since everybody teaches differently. So we got our first slide. And first of all, thank you, Mantis, for being here. She's applauding. Yes. She's making all of this possible. So very grateful for that. So we will be having slides. And also, if you have questions, please send them through. If for some reason we cannot get to them, we will definitely respond them as they come. And just know that with our channel, you will be receiving accurate information and also what is trending in real estate currently. So the reason why we're talking about owner finance right now is because the market has shifted for sellers and buyers in that way. So sellers financing is an old time proven method to buy and sell. When it's done correctly, you want to make sure there's a protection for the seller and the buyer. So today I was at a closing. One of our buyers got a 3.5 interest rate, which is amazing. He's an I-10 borrower. And even the person signing the documents, she was pretty impressed of how we set it up our buyer to buy this property to protect their interest, and also how the seller was also being protected. So it's very important to make sure that you're dealing with the right agent that can get you from the beginning to the end in the right way. Now, would you sell or buy owner finance? That a lot of people ask themselves, okay, do I really want to buy owner finance? Do I really want to sell owner finance? So that's a question that really depends on the person. So if you're in this market, which basically right now prices are very low and interest rates are high, so demand is pretty much has lowered quite a bit. But if you need to sell because you're going, we're going to talk about if you need to sell, but right now we're going to focus on buyers. But for the buyers, why does a buyer want to do an owner finance? Well, they either had a recent bankruptcy, they either had credit problems, low credit score, or they don't have any credit, or they have an ITIN borrower. Usually they don't have credit either. And either you're maxed out of all the loans, like all conventional loans have already been used. Problems with your reporting the income. So sometimes people that are self-employed, they are not reporting the income adequately, and so automatically they disqualify themselves. So that's, again, it's very important to create a relationship with a real estate agent that will get you to the points you want to get to. So if you want to create passive income or create financial wealth, with Elite Realty, we focus on creating financial wealth. So a lot of our clients are multiple buyers, whether they bought 2, 3, 4, 5 properties. You can have up to 10. And having the right agent creating the right plan for you is key and essential. Also, if you're an investor and the numbers make sense, like sometimes, let's say someone is in a need of selling the property because they're either getting a divorce or something is happening, so they need to sell right away, then you as an investor, you look at the numbers. Okay, how much will it cost me to acquire the property? And how much will I be paying monthly? What will be my interest rate? And also, how much will I be able to receive of rental income? That's definitely a great question to ask. And your agent, us here at Elite Realty, we can provide you the information so you can make a decision based on information. That is key. Do not go ask the next door neighbor what they're doing, because each case, especially if it's for sell by owner, is different. So it's key that you, as the buyer, have the right information and create the right strategy. So I've dealt with plenty of buyers. I have a buyer currently where they only have about $10,000 to $15,000 to put down, and we just came across an owner finance property that you don't have to put that you would have to put money down, though the interest rate is 0%. 0%. Yes, I know it sounds crazy. They are out there. And that's when it comes to negotiation. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. And again, not all the agents are the same. So that's why partnering up with the right agent is essential. Now, let's switch the topic, because I've had people that want to be buyers that might have hurdles. And now we have situations where sellers want to sell. And the reason why they want to sell is because the family dynamic changed, whether it's a divorce or they had a 5-bedroom home, now they need a 3-bedroom. They want to pay less in property taxes. Some people are not able to file for homestead, so their taxes are going crazy. Again, you want to partner up with a real estate company that will assist you on protecting your investment. So protesting your taxes does really help with the paying taxes situation. And if you want more information, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We'll definitely be providing more information about that and doing workshops to where you can attend and we can assist you on protesting your property taxes. They also need to move to another city. So sometimes people have job opportunities and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna move from Austin to Houston or Dallas, which recently I've come across a few of them. And so they're just more focused on moving rather than wanting to go through, like, they just want to move and sell pretty quickly. So sometimes doing an owner finance is a good option for them. Again, owner financing is not for everyone. That's why setting up the appointment with one of us so we can go over your particular situation is key. Another reason why someone wants to do an owner finance as a seller, they want to keep the equity and earn money on the equity. So it covers, like, basically when you own your property outright, you can actually start making money on your investment, passive income through interest. So definitely some sellers are like, you know what? I want to keep more money stream coming monthly. So definitely that's a good way. Also, if you don't have enough equity on the home, but you need to get out, I'm seeing that a lot right now, because again, the market always goes up and down, up and down. That's definitely a trait. And when you are becoming a real estate investor, you want to understand how the market and when the market shifts, because the market leaves clues. It's not like one day it switches to the next. It does a process. If you go back to the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, early 2010s, you'll be able to see there's always been a high and a low, a high and a low. Having difficulties with the mortgage because of loss of income, like some people are unemployed, or what I'm seeing currently, and I've seen this a lot, is people that ask for the forbearance on their monthly payments for like 6 months, a year. When Corona was going on, banks are like, no, we need that money back. So they start charging people back for that, and they're like, hey, I can no longer make my monthly payments. So then you provide options to the seller to see what best option fits for them. Now, There's different types of scenarios that can arise with seller financing. One of them is sometimes the owners have paid off their home. And basically, as the owner, they're going to go ahead and be like, hey, Mr. X, Y, and Z, I'm going to sell you my house for $500,000, and the interest rate is going to be 5%. So we work on an agreement to where both parties are completely in agreeing. And for in these instances, like if I represent the seller, there is going to be a buyer's agent. So it works just like a regular transaction. You negotiate closing costs, you negotiate down payment, you negotiate interest rate. But that is a great scenario when the owner's house is paid for. Now, there is something called a wrap, and a wrap is when the owner has a loan on the property and they're no longer wanting to keep paying on it. So what they do is they kind of sell their equity to someone else, and that's basically what it's called a wrap, because the loan is still under the seller's name, but the house turns into the buyer's name. So when you're going through the process, whether you're the seller or the buyer, the agent will definitely answer all of the questions that you may have. But in this scenario where the seller owns, let's say, $200,000, but he's selling the house at $300,000, you can always negotiate the down payment. Let's say down payment is going to be $20,000. So if it's $20,000, then you have $280,000 that will be on a loan, and that's basically a wrap. And with the wrap, there's a lot of little logistics going on. So you don't want to go with just any agent, and of course you do not want to go with any title company. The agents that know that what they're doing, they usually partner up with the title company that knows the process and can smoothly get you to the end. And not only that, you want to continue that relationship with your agent, because the home is still going to, depending on the wrap or the disclosures, because sometimes they'll be like, hey, I'll sell you this house, I will keep the note for 5 years, which is called a balloon, but in 5 years you either have to refinance, you would have to pay it off, or sell it. So you have those three options. But as us agents, and the relationships we build with our clients, is we want to make sure that we're revisiting any situations they have, whether we want to refinance, things like that. We want to make sure we address those questions. Now, existing loan plus zero equity, that's an assumable, an existing loan plus zero equity that does not qualify for assumption. So there's buyers that sometimes want to assume a loan for someone. Like, let's say someone has an FHA loan and they own $300,000 and the house is worth $300,000, and basically the owner is like, I'll transfer my loan under your name, but that buyer doesn't qualify. You can do what's called a home and an owner finance, which that would also be a good way to make sure that you continue to sell if you no longer want the liabilities, if you no longer want to make those payments. If you're ready to cut course with that, seller financing is definitely the best way to go. Now, participants of this transaction, which is very important. You want to understand who are the people that are important in this transaction. Well, you got to have the seller and the buyer. They both have to agree. They have to agree on the terms. They have to agree on the sell price. They have to agree on the terms. All of that has to be narrowed down. And then you have a loan servicing company. The loan servicing company takes the money from the buyer and distributes it in the proper channels after it's closed. So let's say I had a transaction today, its owner, seller finance. So they closed today, but their first payment is in September. Sometimes the first payment could be in October. So it really depends. You got to make sure when you negotiate or when you're in a transaction that you ask the questions like, okay, when is my first payment going to be due? That's important information. The title company and the insurance company. There's certain insurance you want to use, and again, like anything, there's risk. And if you want to be able to be like, hey, you know what, I want to make sure this transaction is as smooth as possible, then you got to make sure that the person assisting you through it, not only have they done it multiple times, but they can help you with answers and questions, and even after closing, they're able to assist you as well. We have our frequently asked questions. And I love these. And if you have any other questions, please send them through. Because I'm pretty sure if you have that question, there's 200 other people that do. And let's just share the knowledge with people. If we had unlimited hours to talk in our YouTube channel, we would probably do. And I could go on and on and on. But anyways, I do want to address the most frequent asked questions. What happens if a buyer doesn't pay? Well, if a buyer doesn't pay, you don't get to stay. And on a seller finance, the process of acquiring the property back, like the seller getting their property back, is actually a lot quicker than if you had it financed through a bank. The bank has to go through a process. Now, when it's seller finance, it moves pretty quickly. So again, you want to commit for making your payments, but if for some reason you're coming through a hurdle or something, you want to communicate with your agent, with the company taking the payments, with the owner. At the end of the day, everybody wants the transaction to be smooth. And if for some reason you no longer can pay, you can also request to have the property sold. But again, every contract is different. So we would need to read the clause if it's a seller finance. Because sometimes you only have 30 days, or you have 60 days, or you have 90 days. So it's very important that you understand that what happens if you don't make the payments. And that can also be negotiated too. So I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. How long will the loan be in the name of the seller? That's a great question, because it really depends on how quickly the buyer is ready to either refinance, sell, or pay it off. So this property I'm talking about, that's 300,000. It's 350, zero interest, and they give you a 5-year balloon. Basically, if every month you focus on paying it early or paying more towards principal, you can pay that house quickly in about 5 years. You just have to put goals and in place, like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do to make sure I pay this home quickly. Now, if for some reason a year or two into it, you're like, you know what, I don't think I'm gonna be able to pay it off, then we need to start thinking of the plan. Are we gonna sell it? Are we gonna refinance it? Or are you gonna pay it off? So having that communication with your agent, I always talk about your real estate agent should be your top 5 BFF people. Like the person you can count on even at midnight. And trust me, it has happened. Now, are closing costs the same as traditional transactions? No, closing costs on a seller finance are way lower. So you want to make sure that you get your estimates closing cost. It could be about 1% to 2% of the loan value. Again, it really depends on the negotiation. Also, if the seller is paying the buyer's agent commission, all of that is part of closing costs. But when you find the property, the agent can negotiate the best terms for you, and then we can go from there. But I will say you don't have the loan origination fees, and you don't have a lot of loan fees. So the closing costs are definitely lower on seller finance. Why do we need to use a loan servicing company? Amen. Thank you, Lord, baby Jesus. So today at my closing, and I mentioned it earlier today, it is an owner finance. The lady doing the closer, because she was a notary, she's like, oh my God, I am so glad that you guys look out for the best interest of the buyer to make sure that there is a servicing company. To me, that's key. We are not going to do an owner or a seller's finance if we don't have a servicing company. And that is essentially the key to keep everything together. So we do recommend that. And along the process, we do talk about that. Usually the buyer does pay the servicing fee because it's on the best interest of the buyer. Not necessarily the seller, because they could just pocket in the money. But basically the buyer's interest, if they're willing to pay more towards principal and things like that, it's better to have that servicing company in place. And is it legal? Yes, it's legal. You can definitely do seller finance. There is a process of making it legal. You don't, the client that I was closing today, he's like, hey, Julie, I was going to buy another owner finance. And I asked the owner, he said he was going to seller finance it. And I asked the owner what were the terms. And he was like, oh, no, you just give me the money. And the money is the contract. And that's it. I was like, oh, hold up. Wait a minute. You don't want to do that. Why? Because you really need to make sure that the title of the property is transferred to you as the buyer. Why would you give money to anyone if you don't have any document confirming that you are the legal owner? And let me tell you, I think I can go on channels with how many cases I've seen where people get robbed. And there's nothing they can do because they were the ones that gave the money to whoever said, hey, I'm going to sell you this piece of land. It's going to be $100,000. You need to give me $30,000 down. And that person, because they trusted them, or because they're like, oh, I don't want to pay any fees. I don't want to pay title fees. I don't want to pay realtors. You know what? They lost not only their $30,000, they had to leave that space. And that's kind of sad. Why would you put yourself in that predicament? Please, please, please hire someone that can assist you. Even if you're selling, even if you're the seller and you're selling it to your brother, you want to have an agent involved, even if it's one, to write the contract and make sure that everything is flowing like it needs to flow. And no one is cutting steps or anything like that. Because the process, whether it's seller finance or a bank is financing it, there's certain points that have to be done and steps. Now, let me give you a real example, which I love examples. I love numbers. If numbers talk to me, well, numbers and I have a conversation daily. Because if you have the right numbers that make sense for you, then you can get the whole picture. To me, numbers are the universal language. I don't care what language you talk. We can talk dinero. We can talk money. So in this example, Mantis, am I being shown on the screen? Okay. So we have the purchase price of $400,000 and the down payment 10% of $40,000. Now the loan amount will be $360,000. Your annual interest rate 5%. Usually on seller finance, they're gonna extend the loan for 30 years. So just because it says there's a balloon for 5 years, your monthly payment is gonna spread into 30 years, okay? And so your first payment in this example is May 13th of 2023. Your monthly payment is $1,932.56. Now, ojo, Ojo, yes. That is principal and interest, people. You got to calculate taxes. You got to calculate insurance. So your monthly payment is not $1,900. So whenever you sit with your agent, the agent should definitely explain what your monthly payment will look like. And when you have what's called a servicing company in the middle, they do provide you your first payment letter on closing day, so you have a clear understanding of that as well. Now, in this case, in this example, they have a 10-year balloon where it shows what interest payment has been made along with principal paid and the outstanding balance. I love to pay money towards principal. And I don't know if you know this, and if you don't, I'm going to share the joy and the love. If you make one additional payment towards principal every year, whether it's an owner finance or whether it's a regular loan, you change the dynamics of when your loan, like instead of maybe 30 years, it goes into 22 years. Let's say you got a balloon for 5 years. I would be focusing on making additional payments every other month or paying more towards principal so you can pay the home a lot quicker. Now, I know it's a lot of information, and no one said that this was an easy process. I'm a big believer that you got to walk the walk in order to learn. And what do I mean by that? If you're interested in amplifying your portfolio of real estate, giving seller finance a chance is definitely a way to leverage your credit and your income, because you are not utilizing your credit in order to make money. And it's also a win-win, because there is people out there where they're like desperate to get out of their homes, or they're about to be foreclosure. So there's different strategies, and partnering up with the right agent, the right team, and having the clarity of where you want to go is essential. Don't compare yourself to the vecino. The vecino might have nothing. He might have a Rolls Royce parked outside, but you don't know what's behind doors. Take advice from people that are doing what they're saying for you to do. I love listening to people that I'm like, ooh, you don't even own a property and you're giving advice? Let me just say, make sure that the person you're listening to has a proving record. And other than that, if you have any questions, please send them through. You can write them in our YouTube live. We will respond them. And if you have ideas of topics to talk about in our YouTube live, bring them on. I just had a client send me one. I haven't shared it with you, Mantis, but I'm about to share it. She's like, hey, Julie, can you do a YouTube live that talks about what things or items around the home can you do to make the value of your home increase? And there is actually certain things that you could do. You don't want to go all, I'm going to like remodel the entire house. Hold up, wait a minute. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you get an expert to assist you and guide you through it. And sometimes it's just one little small thing. I have a listing coming up, and the seller, we met up, and the market right now, like I explained, might not be the most brilliant market to sell. And he was giving me a list of everything that he was going to do. And I was like, no. We do not need to do that. This is the one thing we only need to do. And we will be able to get our money back on the investment. So understanding that is key. So we look forward to you subscribing to our Elite Realty channel. Mantis, is it on this side or this side? No. We don't know which side it is, but whichever side it is, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share this information. Again, sharing, you don't know who's going through a difficult time to where they're just losing it and they don't see a way out. And to be honest with you, your peace of mind has no price. Let's work together to make sure that the transaction is smooth and then it benefits you to the best possible way. My name is Julie Galarraga, and I'm part of the Elite Realty Dream Team. We are very grateful you connected, and keep following us and subscribe for more information. Have a wonderful day. Bye.